What's good, everybody? It's your boy, the Q-Tip. We're back with another video. We have another game preview for you guys today with number 7 Maryland taking on number 16 Kentucky and Puerto Rico. This is a really fun matchup because this is another game where it's two different styles. And I love games that really test a team's ability or test a coach's ability to either impose their will of their game plan or be able to adjust and still be able to find ways to win if you have to play a different way. Before we get started, make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. We got a lot of stuff going on. We got a lot of stuff coming up. So make sure that you guys have watched or go back and watch the past video so that you know what we're all about over here. And then you make sure that you subscribe, turn on the post notifications so that you can watch the rest of whatever we put out over the next however long. But let's get straight into it. First off, I want to say the ESPN analytics predictor, the same one that had UCLA losing, which I don't think is crazy, but having it be like 64-36 is kind of crazy. This one is swung in Kentucky's favor by a lot as well, which I'm a little confused about. But that's neither here nor there. It doesn't matter. It's just ESPN. ESPN is not the end all be all. It's not even really a all at all. But I like what I've seen from Kentucky this year. They play through their post players a lot. They play really good defense. They make sure that they block shots. They don't shoot the 3-ball well. That's one thing in this game that I'm looking at to see if they're able to do that, because Maryland is capable of shooting the 3. So I'm definitely looking at how Kentucky is going to be able to shoot the ball efficiently and how they're going to be able to impose their will, because Maryland doesn't have a lot of post players, or a lot of like prominent post players. So Kentucky definitely will have the advantage there. They'll have the advantage with Clara Strack. Clara Strack is really good. I mean, she was really good her freshman year when she was playing behind Elizabeth Kitley. And now, I don't know why I said Elizabeth instead of just Liz, but it is what it is. I really like what I've seen from her over the last few years. I'll round it up. She's averaged 17 points, 12 rebounds, 3 blocks, and over a steal and a half. So she's leading the team in everything but assists. So she's been dominant, been phenomenal. She's been super efficient. She's shooting 56% from the floor, 80 from the free throw line, and 31 from the 3-point line. I will say hers, she's capable of shooting the 3. Like I don't think she's a bad 3-point shooter at all. So I think she's a player that they do have to worry about shooting the ball. But you got players like Jordan Obi, who averages 12 points a game and shoots 55% from the floor, but 28 from 3. 28 from 3. So that's another, and Maryland has good defenders. Like, Maryland has players that are capable of guarding at a high level. So that's what makes this matchup interesting, is if they're not able to shoot the ball, is Maryland going to be good enough to keep them from getting to the paint, to keep them from getting to the shots they want? Amelia Hassett averages 11. Tonie averages 11. Tonie Morgan averages 11. She also averages 9 assists. I'm rounding up for both of those. But again, none of those players, outside of Amelia Hassett, she shoots 35 from 3, but Tonie shoots 11. Tonie Morgan shoots 18. Asia Boone shoots 31.9, so 32. So the 3-point shooting is going to be really big, but also the post play. As for Maryland, I think Maryland is a little underrated. And I don't mean that in terms of their ranking, because they're ranked 7. But I do think the way that they're looked at isn't the way that they should be. And I guess this is a game that will give them that opportunity to prove that. Because if they lose, then they're still going to be looked at the same way. But I do think this is a game that they can go out and win. I love how Oluchi Okananwa has played as she's been at Maryland. She's averaged 15 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 1.3 steals, shooting 57% from the floor, 79 from the free throw line, and 37 from the 3-point line, which is big for her. Like, if she's shooting the 3-ball well, it's a really hard guard, or a really hard player, or she's really hard to guard. That's what I was trying to say. Good Lord. Super versatile, great defender. There's a lot that she can do on the floor, so having her out there with players like Addie Mack, Kaylene, Smikle, Yarden Garzone, Saylor, Poffenbarger, like having all of those players out there that can do so many different things, I think is huge. I think it's an advantage against a lot of teams. Addie Mack had one of the best fourth quarters of the season, if not the best fourth quarter of the season, against Georgetown. And that game was crazy because they were losing for a good portion of that game. So maybe that's something that people are looking at. Like, they were, they had to come back in that game. They beat Princeton. That's probably their best win of the season. But I do think they're going to struggle in terms of post play just because they don't have like a set post player that's going to deal with Clara, Strack, Amelia, Hassett, Tonie, Key. But I do think players like Saylor, Oluchi, Yarden, Kaylene, they're big enough players that they can still contest, make things difficult for Kentucky. And I think them offensively, they can make things difficult for Kentucky because they also have size and they have a lot of versatile players. So it's not like, oh, this player can only do this or this player can only do this. Like, you have Yarden Garzon who can play the point. Addie Mack can play the point. Saylor can run the point. Oluchi can run the point. Like, you have so many different players. Kaylene Smikle can score at a high level. We've seen Addie Mack get hot. We've seen Saylor Poffenbarger get hot. We've seen Yarden Garzon in the past. Like, she's shooting 38% from the floor right now. I think that gets better. I think her three-point percentage will get better as well. She's shooting 30% from the free throw or from the three-point line. I think that gets better as well. I think Yarden Garzon is a really, really good player. I think when you leave a team, like she was with Indiana for 4 years, when you leave a team and go to a new team, there's always that adjustment period. And they haven't played like big games yet necessarily, so she hasn't had to be great or hasn't had to be really good. But I do think there will come a time where she gets it going, she gets it rolling, and this team looks completely different if they can get her shooting over 45% from the field and over 35% from the three. Because, I mean, Saylor Poffenbarger shooting 53% from the field, 45 from three. I mean, they had an injury to Leah Bartown. Unfortunately, she tore ACL. But Kendall Walker came back a few games ago. So that's another player off the bench that they're looking at to come in and just be a spark. And I really think Maryland can give Kentucky a lot of problems in this game. Like, I think their speed could be a problem, like their ability to just get out and run at all times. And having everybody on the floor be able to push the ball is a huge thing to have. Ozzy Mamadou has been really good in the post. This is going to be her biggest test, obviously, with Clara Strack playing. But I do think there's going to be a lot of cross matchups to where Clara Strack is somebody that is on the perimeter a good bit too, so it's not like she only plays in the post. So that could also help Maryland a little bit. It's like they may be able to like stop her from getting to the paint if she's playing out on the perimeter for specific possessions. But we all know how, SEC teams they take pride in their defense. Now, granted, Kenny is not a player, or Kenny is not a coach that is like super heavy on his defense. But I think some of the players that he had already are defensive type of players. Well, obviously, you bring in Tonie Morgan from Georgia Tech, and it funnels that way. But Kentucky is a good offensive team as well. It's just the three-point shooting is not there. So if the three-point shooting is there in this game specifically, it's going to be a really good game, or it's going to be a really tough game for Maryland to win because they want to get to the paint. They want to try to get to the free throw line and things like that. So if they're knocking down that three, then you're going to have to pick and choose which one you live with. Because you're always going to live with them shooting the three. But if they're not shooting the three ball well, you just let them shoot it. So, and Maryland has to shoot the ball well too. Like, Maryland can't just go out and think like, oh, they're going to struggle shooting the ball, so we have time. No, go out, foot on the pedal right away. That's it. Like, don't play around. You can't have a slow start, because then that other team gets more and more confident as the game goes on. And I'm not saying that like Kentucky's like a bad team, because they're a ranked team as well. But I do think Maryland is the more talented team. I think they're more well put together team. But I do think Kenny Brooks. I don't know why I was blanking on his last name, but Kenny Brooks is his name. I do think that Maryland has more talent, but Kentucky is a team that on any given night, I don't want to say can beat anybody because I don't know if they can beat the UCLAs, the Texases, the South Carolinas, or the UConns. But a Michigan, a Oklahoma, like on any given night, depending on how they play, they could win those games. So this is a game where both of these teams kind of need this win. Like I think Maryland could really use this win going into Big Ten play in a couple weeks. And then same for Kentucky. This is a game that you kind of want to have on your resume going into SEC play and going into the tournament, because these are the kinds of games that people look at and they're like, okay, instead of being a 5 seed, you might be a 4 seed. Instead of being a 4 seed, you might be a 3 seed. And that's huge in the tournament because it gives you, a better matchup, and it gives you not an easier path, but a less difficult path to the Sweet 16, Elite 8, Final Four, so on and so forth. But if I had to pick who I think is going to win this game, I'm going to go with Maryland. Tiny bit bias in that. But I do think Maryland is the better team. I do think Maryland is the more well put together, more well coached team. That's gonna be important in this too, is when timeouts are called, what adjustments are made, what's the game plan for each team. If you're gonna have to change the game plan, how quickly can you do that? Noticing things on the court and making sure that those things get changed. Like, these are two good coaches. These are two very good coaches. Brenda Freeze, Kenny Brooks, very good coaches. So this is gonna be a really balanced game. That's not the word I'm looking for, but I can't think of anything right now at the top of my head. Competitive. This is gonna be a really competitive game. I think it's gonna be back and forth. I don't think it's gonna be a blowout either way. I think it's gonna be within 7 to 8 points throughout the entire game. If not, like, it could be under that or like at that, but I don't think it'll be like a 12 to 16 point win for either team. But it could be. It's basketball. But I'm looking at Saylor Poffenbarger in this game. Her shooting and her size and her rebounding ability is going to be huge. And then Yarden goes on. If she's efficient in this game, I think they win this game pretty easily. Oluchi, I expect her to be great. And Addie Mack, this is her moment to be in the spotlight, because the game that she had against Georgetown was a great game, but it was on like Big Ten Plus. This game, it's on Flow Sports, which don't even get me started on that. But this game is still in front of a national audience to a certain degree. Like, people are always going to look at the ranked matchups and see what happens. So they're going to see those players. So I'm excited to see what Clara Strack does. I'm also excited to see how Jordan Obi plays, Amelia Hassett. But I think this is going to be a really good game. But I've got Maryland winning. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you come back for the next one. And make sure you watch these games today. We got some big games today, so make sure you tap in with those. Thank you guys for watching.